Namaskar. As an activist, film producer, and an author, a new author for that matter, stories are a big part of my life. Stories of lived experiences have molded me. But today, I'm not going to be talking about many other stories. I'll start with my own story and perhaps weave in other stories as we go in. I have exactly 20 minutes. The watch tells me that. So, before I start my story, a little context setting. I don't think I was a normal child. I had traces of abnormality in the way I behaved. I felt very compelled to do things for others. Felt very compelled to start initiatives even as an 8-year-old, as a 10-year-old, as a 12-year-old. But my story starts with a twist, which I would say was my life transforming moment. So for first 15 years of my life, I was the role model kid in my family. Every parent aspired for a child like me. And I was the talk of the town in my colony, my school. Everybody wanted their child to be like Sunita Krishnan, high achiever, everything. Things changed. At the age of 15, when I was gang raped by 8 men, and suddenly from there, I went down, fell right down under the earth, maybe to Patal. And suddenly, I was the most characterless person, most moralless person, most excluded person, and every family felt that their children should not even come near me. My story starts there. For the first time, I think I got to understand what sex crime is. And what is a world of victimization of a victim? A person who is constantly reminded that what has happened to her is her fault. The entire world around me was telling me in multiple ways that I'm at fault for what happened to me. I invited those 8 men to pounce on me and rape me. I had a choice. And I think life is all about choices. And each one of us is making choices in our life. I had a choice to be a victim, hide my face in shame and guilt in the way the world wanted around me. Or I had a choice to just walk off and say, balls, I don't care a damn. I didn't do this. It's those 8 men who had to hide their face in shame and guilt and not me. I chose the later. I chose to be a survivor. I chose to walk off. But every choice has its consequences, because in that walking away, I also made a very big choice. I said, from this moment onwards, from this second onwards, the rest of my life, my every breath, is going to be committed to end sex crime, to end sexual violence around me. It could be in the form of sex trafficking. It could be in the form of sex slavery. I'm going to end it. While fantasies are nice, dreams are nice, creating all these khayali pulavs are nice, every choice comes with certain action and effort you need to take in your life. So when I chose that this is going to be my life path, I had to also make a choice what kind of education I will now pursue at the age of 15. What is the world of social relationship that I want to maintain? Do I want to be connected with my family, to my friends, with my community? I had to make that choice also. I had also to make a choice on what is the lens from which I will look at the world. How am I going to view the world? If this is going to be my life mission, and if this is going to be the path ahead in my existence. So it also meant the way of life that I would lead and my own definition of what will give me happiness. Everybody has their own definitions of what will give you happiness. It could be a better career, it could be bangla, gadi, and reaching on the top of the ladder. I had to decide what is my quotient of happiness. And between that intention and actualization, there's a lot of work that happens on it. So what did I want to change? What is the world that I wanted to change? Let me tell you 3 stories of 3 other individuals whose world I'm trying to change. On to my left is this 5-year-old child whose mother was in prostitution, a woman in prostitution. She got infected because she was in the business of selling sexual services. A point came when there were so many opportunistic infections that she couldn't sell her sexual services. She had lost a lot of weight, she couldn't stand. There was no buyer to come and buy her body. She had to struggle to survive for her alcohol, for her drugs, for everything that she needed. And she chose to sell her 5-year-old child to a pimp. We rescued her weeks later after she was sold, while she was already raped by more than 50 men. In the middle is this 13-year-old girl who fell in love with this young man, who promised her the sun, moon, and the stars. She eloped with him. He married her, put a garland in her neck, in her temple, made her believe this marriage is for real, kept her in her house for a few weeks, and then took her to another person, told her that I'm going to come back, I need to find a job to sustain ourselves, and never came back. She was sold for 2 lakh rupees to this woman. The last child is 11. Her father abandoned her when she was 4. Mother and daughter looked after each other. When she was 11, somebody known to the family, a nice woman in the neighborhood, came and told the mother, "You're toiling so hard. Why don't you send your daughter with me? She'll work as a nanny, and I'll take care of her." Mother trusting her, and the daughter actually feeling very good that she's actually going to support the family, happily went with this woman. On the way, she overheard a phone call between this woman and somebody else, something to the effect that the rate is very low, she's a fresh mal, you can't give me this amount. And her antenna was up, she was like alert, something is happening to me. And that is when she felt her life is in danger. And somehow she managed to call up somebody from the village. She didn't call her mother. She called her boyfriend, another 19-year-old in the village, who, knight in shining armor, came running, rescued her from this woman. The last that this girl remembers is a cool drink that was given to her. And the next thing that she remembers is that she was in 52 brothel of GB Road, which is just opposite Kamala Market Police Station in Delhi. The world that I'm talking to you all about is a world of sex trafficking, a modern-day form of slavery, one of the 3 largest organized crime with drugs and arms, a $150 billion industry, and one of the fastest growing criminal enterprise. While I give you examples of children, let me also tell you, any human being, man, woman, child, get sold and trafficked for sexual exploitation. Sexual exploitation is perhaps one of the most pervasive forms of human trafficking, other than labor trafficking and trafficking for various other purposes like organ trade, adoption, surrogacy, fertility, all kinds of forms of exploitation. This is the world that I wanted to change. Now, having that I want to change this, it doesn't happen in my mind. I have to do something about it. Sometimes people think social service and social work is about your heart. Definitely it's about your heart, but it's also about your skills. You can't be taking care of thousands of very traumatized souls without understanding or having the skills or the competence to deal with trauma, mental health, mindful giving, and the whole world of therapy that happens. You can't fight against an organized mafia, organized crime without having the skills for investigation, skills in gathering intelligence, skills in running rescue operations or running an outfit of any kind, like a corporate setup. So is a social sector. Any outfit has to be thing. So I had to start gathering those professional skills. But having gathered the professional skills, you also need to gather people. I can't alone change this. Sunitha Krishnan alone cannot do anything. And that is something that I needed to understand, which means I had to bring in similar kind of mad persons who have the same kind of drive, have skill sets to work in this space. You need guts, you need gumption, you need also very thick skin to deal with this whole space. And the entire world of team building started with that, which also meant that I had to also work on how do we strategically plan, how do we to change this. See, all emotions don't change anything. It has to be strategically planned. We have also performance metrics and indicators to understand where we have we moved from one point to next point. And most importantly is, how do I transfer? I'm driven, I'm angry. I feel very, very, very wrong that women and children and human beings are sold in sexual exploitation. How do I transfer that aspiration in the same level to another person so that my gang or my army also develops in the same form? But most importantly, how do I sustain this? I can't be eating air and doing this. I can't be telling my little children whom I rescue, say, okay, eat, imbibe the air and you will live alive. I need money to sustain. And it's not a one-day affair. It is an everyday affair. You're looking after people. You're taking care of several things. This is what the world that I was navigating through started opening up. So at one end, I was looking at how do I remove people from places of exploitation, from the brothels. Brothels could be brothels as brothels. It could be houses. It could be apartments. It could be spas. It could be beauty parlors. It could be any place of exploitation. At another end, I was looking at how do we prevent this? And one of the things that we started doing to prevent is by identifying the most vulnerable person, most disadvantaged person. And the first person who's going to be most vulnerable in this entire space is a child of a woman in prostitution. Because that girl child will be the first person that the pimps or the traffickers will put their eyes on. That male child will be their first target to create another pimp out of there. So education as a means to prevent second-generation prostitution, sensitizing the community to awaken them, to make sure that they also join this whole space, because this is not a problem that can be handled by one person or one organization, but also at the same time, when we are talking about human beings sold in sex slavery, we're talking about human beings who are subjected to rape 20 times a day, 25 times a day, subjected to people who do inhuman harms to these persons, from cigarette butts all over the body to blades all over the thing, in very unhygienic and unsterilized environment, being subjected to repeated abortions. How do we create a therapeutic healing space where people can gain back themselves, gain back their dignity? But anything that works does not work automatically. There are also people, especially when you're fighting an organized crime, you're killing somebody's revenue, you're destroying somebody's livelihood, and that is where attacks start. Attacks start physically on you to wipe you out. There have been 17 attacks on my life. Attack starts from ideological positions who believe adults all are there because they want to do this, and you're actually a human rights violator removing adults out of the space. Attacks also come from vested interest of all kinds who believe their businesses are getting shaken from inside the system. So you're living in a very hostile space where there is only doubts and doubts around you. And when there's so much of attacks around you, and the whole world is doubting you, what stands by you? Your truth. Your truth in terms of your integrity, your truth in terms of your intention, your truth in terms of your right action within the framework of law, and your truth which is evidence-based. And what is my truth? My truth is that I was able to set up the largest safe house in the world that can take care of 1,200 victims at any given point of time. My truth is that till date, I have removed 29,200 women and children out of that space. My truth is that more than 16,000 of children have been prevented from being inducted into prostitution. My truth is also about sensitizing one-to-one over 10 million people across the world on what is human trafficking, what is sex trafficking, setting up shelters. Oh, I've just got another 4 minutes. Impacting policies, whether it is the anti-trafficking policy, whether it is shelter management, whether it is getting video conferencing for victims to record their evidences, or create a database of sex offenders within the National Crime Records Bureau, or to have a special cell in the National Investigation Agency, NIA, to actually investigate human trafficking cases. All these came because of our work and impact. It is also my truth that thousands of young girls today, I have got more than 9,800 of them married. I have more than 800 grandchildren who have been born in my campus and now leading a very, very normal life. Not that I'm successful in every case, mind you. If I have removed 29,000 and more, I can claim only about 27,000 who have been successfully reintegrated. There will be still around 2,000 of them who have gone back to the same space. What is it that I have learned in my journey? For me, the means to an end is as important as the end itself. That's been my greatest learning in my life. But I've also learned, while the world tries to make me believe that I'm the originator of all sex trafficking in India and I'm the only one who has to solve it, I beg to differ. And I believe that each one of you all here also have a role to play to change things. And what is it that, from my own experience, that I request each one of you all to do? And I would like to rephrase my word, not request. I demand each one of you all to do. Just seeing the time and seeing whether I can. I think I'm just wondering whether I need to go in this. Can I take half a minute more? Sorry. Before I go into what you need to do, can we just go back, please, 2 slides backward to the child? Yes. There have been instances in my life when things have not gone that smooth. There are instances where I have been so shaken up that I have gone numb. And one such instance is what I'm telling you just now. 2 incidents happened on the same day. That day morning, I got a call from the local inspector asking me to come to assist him in recording the evidence of a child. I went to the police station, and that gentleman was very busy. So he just said, it's a gang rape case. Please go. And I went into the room. I saw this 16, 17-year-old woman sitting there. And I started talking to her by the time the female police came in. And she said, it's not her, it's the person who's sitting in her lap. This 2-year-old baby. How she survived gang rape of 11 men, I don't know. That same evening, I had another call from a concerned citizen, ye chal raha nahi hai, who sent me a video on my WhatsApp saying that this is a video that is bothering us. Can you just look at it? What offended me about the video? The video was of a 12-year-old child being raped by 8 men. But what offended me on the video were the rapists. You can see their pictures here on the screen. All of them smiling, all of them looking very happy, actually telling the guy who's recording, look at me, I'm doing this thing. 37 years after me being gang raped, I never thought a day will come when rapists will flaunt their act. Using technology, they will say, listen, I did it, and you can't do a damn about it. That changed a lot of things in my mind. And I started what is called as the Shame the Rapist campaign. Next slide, please. Ye chal raha nahi hai. Can I go to the next slide, please? This is not working. I started the Shame the Rapist campaign using social media, requesting everybody to look at these guys, trace them, and tell me who they are. The case went to MHA, case went to Supreme Court. All kinds of people were arrested. This guy was the first guy who got arrested, a builder, a very rich man from Odisha. And the guy who was disseminating the videos through various platforms was this school dropout, 9th standard dropout. He was working as a driver here in Bangalore. This whole case changed the course of Indian history in many ways, because this led, for the first time, the establishment of the cybercrime portal. For the first time, any Indian citizen can report offensive content on social media platforms. By not becoming a complainant, you can be anonymously reporting things. First time, intermediaries were questioned about their accountability, about safeguarding protocols on their platform. And for the first time, we also started looking at how technology is enabling human trafficking too. This is my journey to some extent. Some learnings from my journey before I go to what I want you all to do. For me, I'm blessed to see opportunity in every adversity that I have come across. I also believe that if I've sustained for the last 35 years, it's because the good in the world is far, far more powerful than the evil around us. I also believe just thinking rightly is not enough. Doing it right is the key to carry a sustainable effort. But most importantly, end of the day, you are the only certifying authority for your character, for your morality. That is my greatest takeaway from my own life. But having said that, what do I want each one of you all to do? First, demanding each one of you all to break the silence in your lives. When you remain silent about the abuse in your life, about the wrong that has happened in your life, please remember you're creating an enabling environment for a perpetrator to thrive with impunity. You contribute to the crime when you remain silent. Please break your silence. 2, break your passivity. Now I've told you this big story. It looks so huge: sex crime, sex slavery, billions of people, millions of people in criminal enterprise. All that is big. But don't think of those 10,000 ways that you can't do anything. Think that one way that you can do things. Today after this session, even if you tweet about this content, even you talk about this on social media, that is an action that you're doing. One of my greatest supporters, donors, is a billionaire who's a cycle rickshaw puller who gives me 11 rupees every day. Every act matters. Find ways to act, skills, resources, everything that you can do. But most importantly, please break your tolerance. It is so damning that for a 5-centimeter land, you can go up till the Supreme Court. But a 6-month baby gets raped, it is just a damn story for you. Please break that tolerance. If we can together create a zero-tolerant world to any form of violence, I think we will be building a better world for all of us. So as I end my journey, story of my journey, have I changed the world? I don't think so. But I can confidently say that I've changed the little worlds of every human being that I have removed from slavery. Thank you so much. Sorry, I've taken 2-3 more minutes.
I'll leave it here also so that a lot of us also had tears in our eyes when we were listening to the stories. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So today we're going to be talking about the power of stories to promote action for a better world. And I was just talking to Pranalika before this. So Pranalika and Gitika, who's put this session together, have been working on putting together a media track, is what they call it today, in a tech event, right? And I think the first thing we thought is, are we going to have enough people in the room who probably want to listen to this, right? Because I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer by education, but never worked in the tech space. Today, corporate communication, sustainability, I've mostly been in the corporate world. I think most of us don't realize what small acts of ours, even in our own world, we live in a cocooned world, right? If you ask me, or most of them, so let me do like a poll. How many of you in this room actually know of cases of people you have known who have gone through something similar? Hardly. How many of us don't know anybody? Most of us, right? So a lot of times we tend to think that these things are never going to come into our boundary wall, or it might also feel that, none of us will go through this. But the bigger thing to do today is to see what is it that we can do from where we are, or what shouldn't we do in cases like this. I think she did touch upon the fact that what is it that we could do from our, especially with technology in our hands, etc. A question to you, Sunita, is what do you think authors, filmmakers, bloggers, Instagrammers, influencers, what is it that they can do? And I'm sure there must be sex trafficking, child abuse, and many more on those lines. What is it that they could do? Is it awareness? Is it intervention? Is it solutionizing? Where do you see them playing a higher role today? Because they have great access and a lot of people really look up to them.
I think media per se, today media is everybody. Each one of us is media. Each one of us have the power to change thanks to this little device that we all carry. I think changing social constructs about victim and victimhood. I think when I was gang raped, one of the biggest expectations from everybody around me was I should really hide my face in shame, or I should be in depression. And so when I didn't do any of that, and I said, they have to be guilty, they have to be ashamed, I was branded as a very arrogant person. Now that's a construct that all of us carry, that rape should demolish you, destroy you. And you have to be suitably traumatized. Of course there is trauma. It's not that there is no trauma. This construct is something that is socially perpetuated and supported by a media construct. Our movies, our web series, our television serials, our stories, everything is about, that. If we can actually start changing that, which means that we need to start talking about slut shaming. Sometimes, very simple things like a Nirbhaya thing happened. Everybody is now running to teach defense to girls. Pepper spray. Everybody's. What are we doing? We're doing something which is so damaging. We are asking each of us to be living in fear and constantly be on the alert. Like, oh my God, somebody's coming. I have to take my karate chop or do my taekwondo thing. We're not talking about changing the mindsets of men. We're not talking about, and I keep saying this, women's safety is not a women's issue. It's the issue of men and their mindset. We don't do that. We perpetuated blue is for boys and pink is for girls. We create a narrative of what femininity and masculinity could be. These are many, many things that we as people who can influence these social constructs, we can change. And if that change can change the way we parent at our own homes, slowly things starts being different. Every time something like this happens, what is the first reaction of every parent? I'm scared my daughter is coming back from school or college. I don't think any parent ever spoke about, from now onwards, I'm not going to allow my 17-year-old boy to go out of the home after 6 o'clock. Let him sit inside. No men go outside even. We don't talk in those languages. I'm saying about extreme things. I think such newer, innovative thinking is what we as influencers in our conversation with media, through the tools that we create, should be building up.
Thank you. She's been on a lot of TV programs, including the one on Kaun Banega Crorepati. She's been on the series with Amir Khan. The Shame the Rapist is one that, the NDTV piece. There's also a couple of them, which is, I saw there are televisions which actually helped you in fundraising. But one of the most interesting one that I saw was, I don't know, was it Shakti TV or one of the TVs which Sakshi TV, which actually got victims to get trained as cameramen.
Yeah.
And apparently today, in a lot of TV channels, these people have been placed. They're actually working alongside most of us, and we are viewing content that they're creating, which
in fact,
I think is
that
great.
was one of the things that we spoke to the corporates. We said, we don't want your CSR. Give us CSP. I don't want corporate social responsibility, writing a check and closing the matter. I said, let's partner, create employment opportunities for our girls. And I'm happy to say organizations like Microsoft, channels like TV9 came forward and said, listen, we will train women as television camera women. We will train them as security guards or cab drivers to work in our outfits. So that kind of partnership makes us all equally responsible for the problem. And media is a big player in that.
That's very interesting to see. What I'm going to do is open up for questions. Any of you think that there's anything that Sunita could? Yes, I see a hand there. Can somebody pass a mic, please? Mic
Please use a mic. One of the best gifts that I've got from my trafficker friends, is a broken ear. I can't hear from my right ear. I need a mic so that I can hear you.
Yeah. Firstly, thanks a lot for this extremely deep session. I think a lot has been also happening around us as of today, which I think makes it very important for us to understand how to look at sex trafficking or rape cases. I think a big thanks for not blurring the guys or the rapists in that picture. Yeah, actually, I'll come to the question. So the question is that I'm sure everyone knows about the RG Kar case. I'm from Calcutta, so I feel very strongly about it. And so when that was happening, I was actually questioning my parents a lot. And I was like, why is it that the construct of the male and female gender itself feels like an objectification, and it's always a concept of strength and power and any form of sex is more than a form of love. It is also seen as objectification. And why do you think that happens? Like, personally, I feel it's how the entire societal construct is, and that's the very first thing that is used.
There are some chairs here if people want to
And
come. Sorry.
rape is the very first thing, or sex is the very first instrument that is used to put the other gender down. Um, I would like to hear what you think about it. That's just been a question for me for a long time.
Patriarchal understanding of what is power and control has been there for centuries. We are trying to break the ceilings in step-by-step manner. One of the major patriarchal norms is that the male libido is this overwhelming stuff which is legitimized, and that has to be satiated, satisfied by another set of women who have to give that. And that's how Devadasi system, Ganika system, Matangi, Basavi, all of those came, where, you're legitimizing that there are people whose libido is. In fact, many people in our society, and genuinely, they believe that if prostitution is ended, there will be rapes on the street. In fact, in your Kolkata, I had come for a session with some very high-profile women, corporate heads. And after my session, I got a standing ovation, except for this one lady sitting in the front who didn't get up. It drew my attention that she didn't get up and everybody else got up. Just as everybody sat down, this lady came right on the stage and started screaming at me. She said, if you're going to rehabilitate everybody, what about my daughter? So for a second, I couldn't understand what she was saying. And then I realized that she was saying that to keep her daughter safe, somebody else's daughter needs to sit in a brothel. That is the patriarchal mindset that men and women together carry. Men, women, other gender, all of us carry. We need to change that. And what Shilpa's previous question about what media can do is to change these kind of constructs. That, power and control does not mean holding somebody's sexuality and exercising on that. Power and control does not mean that you have this overwhelming libido and that has to be satisfied through somebody else. Power and control does not mean raping a 6-month baby or a 2-year-old child. The meaning of consent, meaning of what is no, in relationships, outside relationship. But you also know that all this gets more perpetuated because in our own homes, we choose to remain silent when we are sexually abused by a relative, by a friend, by a known person, in the name of honor, in the name of, family prestige and things like that. That is where we are building these perpetrators. Because they believe if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere else too. So several things we need to question, not just patriarchy, but our role in sustaining these crimes.
Can you just we'll take one more
Somebody
question?
can pass the mic, please.
Yeah,
And I
hi.
think while Sunita did focus on the fact that it's majorly girls, we've also seen a lot of stories in the recent past of boys also getting abused.
Yeah.
Bullying, then moving on.
Always. Boys are also sexually abused, sex trafficked. I don't work on that. That's why I've not given those examples. But yes, male children also get sexually abused.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for your session and thank you, GHCI, for organizing this. I was not expecting this in the tech conference. So, yeah, it's a bit refreshing. My question is a bit more personal and emotional. Like, when you were gang raped at 15, how did you deal with that I have brought the family owner down? Or, how do you develop the thin skin? Like, for me personally, I can rebel against patriarchal men in office or somewhere else. But when it's your own mom slut shaming you, then you are like, let's keep the family together, and feminism comes second. How do you deal with that?
So read my autobiography that tells you my story. How cheap am I getting? Marketing my. So please read that. Um, but just to answer in a very short way, I think I was one of the most self-centered persons born on this earth. I just didn't bother what I did to my family. I kept just moving. At the age of 52 now, when I look back, uh, I know the kind of, when I'm able to see the kind of generous family that I had and how much they sacrificed for me. I'm able to see it today, but that time I didn't have eyes or ears or nose for anything. I just kept moving. So, and that's when I said that I created my own path in terms of how I'm going to deal with people around me. Just didn't go into mine. If you think I'm characterless, it's your problem, not mine. That was my stand.
Thank you, Sunita. And
This
she's
lady
going to be
here.
available. So if you could catch her a little later. We've overrun on our time. To just summarize it,
This one
I
lady
think-
here who's been,
I think there are 3, 4
Yeah.
of them holding mics now.
so
So
sorry.
my worry is that, yeah, and I wouldn't want the next session to get delayed. But the fact is, guys, like I said, a lot of us in this room are probably the most privileged lot. We don't understand this side of what's happening in the world. We live in our own cocoons. Firstly, be sure to be safe yourself, conscious, doesn't matter what it is, and then see how you could help anybody who's in need. And I think hearing somebody who's gone through it and who's also championed activism in this line is really inspiring. Thank you, Sunita, for spending time with us today. She's come in all the way from Hyderabad. So, you can get to interact with her later.
Thank you.